All right, everybody. With us this week, we're joined by Curtis Oakley, a Bryant basketball alumni, the basketball analytics and league ops for the NBA, the team liaison for the Basketball Africa League, the BAL, and the founder of the Curtis Oakley Jr. Youth Foundation. A man of many talents. We were saying right before recording, one of the cooler, if not coolest, Bryant stories in our educational timeline. So we appreciate Curtis coming on the show. And how's everything going?
Everything's going good. I appreciate you guys having me. I always appreciate, connecting with Brian and Lum. I enjoy my time at Brian and being in Rhode Island. So it's good to be on you guys' show today.
Yeah, when you were playing a very different basketball landscape at Bryant, and now
Yeah.
we're making some moves. I mean, who knows? Who knows what the next couple of years will look like? But we got a stadium coming up, so that'll be exciting. I wish we could have watched you play in the stadium, but the good old the Mac or right, it was still the Mac back then, right?
No, that was the last year I think of the Chase when you were over there with the wooden bleachers and stuff.
Yeah,
Because you were 2016.
Yeah, 2016, we still had the wooden bleachers. That time was very cool, man. That time was very interesting. Bryant came along late in my recruitment process, and once I heard about him, I think the year before my freshman year, I think they won 2 games, and it was interesting being a part of we turned it around. Then there was a couple down years in between that. But I mean, I love what they're doing now. I'm in contact with a lot of the guys on the staff now. I try to just stay in contact with them because I appreciate everybody that gave me the opportunity to play basketball. So, but I love what they're doing. They're in the MAC now. They made it to the tournament. A lot more people have recognition of Bryant University. So a lot more people even around my landscape, knows who Brian is and where it is, and I appreciate that because it's a small school.
Yeah, we've got some questions for you about just there were some really cool moments you were a part of on that team, but want to start at square one. So you're a Cleveland guy, basically, came up right outside of Cleveland. Obviously you had basketball in your blood, right? The uncle NBA All-Star Charles Oakley, of course, but what got you personally into the game? Like, where did your love for the sport come from, and how did that manifest at a young age?
I think I like, the way I like to describe it is, my brother and my brother Christian, we had a very interesting early life and upbringing. Our family was very involved in, the city of Cleveland, and, having an uncle like mine, it wasn't just that he was just an NBA player. He liked to bring people together, you know what I mean? So we had a lot of unique experiences. My family loves Cleveland and loves basketball. So I kind of just, from the day I was born into my family being New York fans, the team I'm talking about. So I was born into that, and, everything was basketball. Everything was basketball around me. So it was just always around me. And once, we got to an age where, we could actually start playing, we start working out. I think I started working out at the age of like 6 or something like that. And, I start playing in rec leagues, and, the rec leagues where I think I remember a couple years they started changing the rules because I was a big kid. I was a really big kid, bigger than the kids my age. So they started changing, you can't steal the ball and things like that. So, but then I got introduced to the AAU space. Somebody introduced me to a coach on one of these teams, and that was probably the first time that I knew that kids were playing basketball at that level in the 4th grade. So I started traveling pretty early. My team, we started traveling around the country in the 4th grade, and we got sponsored by Adidas in the 5th. So it's just been, it's been a long journey.
And that's crazy at such a young age to and this was before, now with social media,
Yeah.
you have these 7-year-olds that are doing the bully mode videos and stuff like that. It's crazy. But how is it at such a young age getting that spotlight of okay, Adidas is recognizing our team. We're traveling throughout the country. I mean, how does that feel at someone, at what's 5th grade, 12, 13?
Yeah. And I mean, I appreciate that question. I love talking about this stuff, man. And like you said, that was a time where it was a little more organic than it is now, but it was different because, being sponsored by Adidas in the 5th grade, you got, a lot of your friends are on local AAU teams and stuff like that. And here you are with bags full of Adidas merchandise, but it wasn't probably to the level that it is now. This was still when, it was very, there was a very small amount of 4th and 5th graders that were a part of these shoe companies. You know what I'm saying? You had DC Assaults in Maryland and Indiana Elite and stuff like that. But you know, I got on the team in the 4th grade. They weren't sponsored yet, the Ohio Showstoppers. But the kids were so good, and I started traveling with them, and I had a small time adjusting to that. And then 5th grade, you know, we were traveling all around the country playing against some of the best players, and it was just interesting because it was interesting being in that moment where, you know, you got people ranking 5th graders not to the level it is now, but now to be an adult and look back on how that whole space operates, you know what I mean? Because when you're in it, you're a kid, you don't really know what's going on, because like from the time when I was a kid, the whole team changed. You know, it went from being like a local team, we got a sponsorship, we got players from, you know, out of state, from down in Columbus, Cincinnati. So, you know, I saw it become a business early, but it was still very fun though.
And that's another thing too. Like from our perspective, we see this with baseball a lot. I think they ranked like a 9U team a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Like what are you doing? Like it has your eyes though. Like
we had all of that stuff.
Yeah, in your eyes, has that gotten worse though? Is that because that's our perception? But I mean, is that what you're seeing too? Where it's just like it's you know what it was when you were playing, of course, but now it has that really gotten like 10 times worse.
Well, you know, when you look at it like on both sides, like for the kids, you know, it definitely keeps kids wanting to, you know, it gives you a, you know, something wanting to push for, some, you know, something that you want to strive for. I want to be the best 5th, 6th grader or whatever. But, you know, at the same time, the people that are ranking kids aren't always the greatest, you know what I mean? And you know, to another point is that, you know, if you rank a kid number 1 in the country in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you know what I mean? By the time he's a 9th, 10th, 11th, you know, going into people may not even know who this guy is anymore. I had a lot of situations like that. We play against a kid from somewhere. He's the number 1 ranked 7th grader, and you never hear about him a couple years after that. So, you know, I mean, I know it's a business, but, you know, it just depends on what side you're looking at it from, you know, how you form your opinion on it.
And as you got a little bit older, I mean, you went to Brush High School in Lindenhurst, Ohio, immediately started playing in a team that I believe was 19-4, won the conference championship. You got to be number 2 in the Plain Dealer top 25 rankings. So, you know, in your eyes as a player, you know, moving up the ranks in high school, what were some of those moments that really, you know, you can even look back today and be like, we accomplished this, or this was pretty cool to get you to where you are today type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that was another interesting experience for me because, you know, I grew up in South Euclid, and that's like the school district, South Euclid, Lyndhurst. So, you know, that was another interesting thing because, you know, you go from playing middle school basketball with all your friends to the next year as a 14-year-old, you starting on varsity, you know what I mean? Which, and, you know, we had a lot of talent around the city in my class, Terry Rozier and, you know, Desmond Ridenauer and a lot of guys. But I think around that time, I was the only freshman in Cleveland starting on varsity. And that was an interesting time because, you know, like I said, I like to look back and reflect on different things. And, you know, I got 2 sides of it. I'm my own player, you know what I mean? But I also have my family's history attached to my name. So there was like newspaper articles coming out like within like 3 games of the, you know, 3 or 4 games of the season starting, like not just like, you know, the Plain Dealer, like the whole city of Cleveland, you know. I think the title was like a mighty branch of the oak tree or something like that. And, you know, it was like a lot of expectations, you know what I mean, when I was coming in and, you know, you playing with, and around that time, like, you know, my whole team was juniors and seniors, you know what I mean? But we had a really good year that year. It was a lot of talent around the city, but we finished 19-4. And, you know, I was able to play with a lot of talented teammates in high school. And, you know, like you say, like the social media scene wasn't as big as it is now. So it was a little more organic, and the respect you had to gain around the city was more word of mouth, you know what I mean, back when we were playing. So, and, you know, every year is going to be somebody saying something like that. You know, my uncle, when he talk about it, it's like, oh, you know, you only got your respect at the park and stuff like that. So, you know, every year is going to, you know, keep advancing. But in high school, I played with some, you know, my cousin was on my team my freshman year. He averaged 28 points a game, was the 2nd leading scorer in the state of Ohio. So I like to be a part of winning basketball, and I like to play with talented basketball players. You know what I mean? I like a full basketball experience, and I was able to do that. So, you know, starting my whole career, and, you know, we won the conference a couple times. So, you know, we had some success in high school.
And that's another good point, too, because you had a lot of high expectations, right, just as a freshman in general starting off varsity. But, I mean, you know, it must have been, you know, when those articles came out, like everybody knows that, you know, Charles Oakley's your uncle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's sort of that target on your back because you're a freshman, right? Because you're the youngest guy in the court, basically, and you're getting minutes with the big guys, right? And to follow that, you know, you've got to sort of, everybody's building this expectation of like, hey, it's an NBA All-Stars, you know, nephew, right?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we're Team Oakley. We won't mention the teams. We're Team Oakley here. We're an Oakley podcast.
Respect.
But like, how was navigating through that? Was there? Did you ever think like, oh my God, those expectations are crazy? Like, how did you manage that whole process of living up to those expectations?
Well, I mean, like, and again, like, I wasn't like the number one player in the state. You know, I was ranked pretty high. You know what I'm saying, in the state, but I think that, you know, I had bonehead moments when I was 14, and you know, looking at those articles and being like, hey, this is really cool. But it was still like I had people around me that didn't really care about that stuff, like my trainers and the older guys that, you know, that mentored me when I was younger, with just, you know, keeping me grounded and, you know, just staying focused on the goal. And that was to, you know, get school paid for, you know, somewhere. So, you know, it was really cool, though. Those moments were really cool, having articles written about you and things like that. And when you're playing well and things are going good. And you know, I had one of my best friends. He went to play football at Oregon. And he was my high school teammate for 3 years. So, you know, it was. I had a lot of people around me that could take, you know, some of the pressure off of me. But you know, it's a learning process when you're in high school. So, you know, I made mistakes. I bumped my head. But I was always able to, you know, bounce back from whatever it is. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure you guys know, y'all went to Bryant, so I talk a lot. So it didn't really take a lot of time for me to get comfortable, so to say, because I like to, you know, I'm gonna make myself comfortable wherever I am. So, but it was definitely a journey, you know, in a process.
And that journey brought you to Bryant. So first and foremost, how did Bryant come up? What was the connection there? What was the aha moment that allowed you to choose Bryant or Bryant to discover you? What was that whole process like?
Man, so it was my senior year. And, you know, I think like I was talking to St. Francis, Kent State, Akron, some other schools. And we played in a showcase. And this showcase was like 45 minutes outside of Cleveland. And like all the top Northeast Ohio teams were playing in it, and then Huntington Prep played in it as well. I think like Andrew Wiggins was like the last game, and like in front of Calipari or something like that. So I think at the time, you know, we were like top 5 in the city, and we were playing another top 5 team in the city, Villa Angela St. Joe's, who put like in a couple years that like while I was graduating, and after that they had like I think 4 or 5 Division I players like Carlton Bragg, who went up, you know, he went to Kansas out of high school. And they had like a lot of other guys. And I think that game, I came out and scored like 16 points in the first quarter. And then Farrell, if I remember correctly, I got a little gassed in the second. And my guy Farrell had like 14 in the second quarter. And we both we were like trading quarters and just having monster games. And I think I won the MVP of that game. And, you know, after that, I think it was a couple of days later, I was in my coach's office and he said, we got a call from Bryant. And at the time I didn't really have much knowledge of Bryant. So, you know, we went on the computer, did some research or whatever. But so, you know, we checked it out. Saw us in Rhode Island. You know, Rhode Island's a very small state. And I really hadn't heard much about what was going on in Rhode Island. But I'm glad that I think I'm an open-minded individual in terms of like being open to new opportunities and things like that. So, and they had, you know, Coach Dobbs and Frankie, St. Edwards guys, you know, which is in Cleveland, Ohio. So it was that Cleveland connection right there. So I wound up taking my official visit out on campus, and you know, I loved it. I really did love it. You know, I took visits to like Akron and Kent State, but those places are close to Cleveland, and it's like, and I've been there so many times, whether it was high school team camp or, you know, having a friend out there and just going to hang out and things like that. It just felt so home, but I wanted to, you know, get out and you know, experience something new. So when I got on campus at Bryant, and I think it was during, you know, they were still in school. It was February. And so those people, walking to class in suits and, things like that. So I hadn't seen that on any other of my visits. I hadn't seen that, you know what I mean? And I like that feel. Like it just felt, very big. It's a business school. So it just felt like, it was a lot of business in the air and the people were nice, you know what I mean? It was like people were asking me how I was doing, and, but they would stop and wait for my response, back home. Somebody might say that, they keep it pushing. They don't really care for real. But at Bryant, it just felt like it was just very comfortable from the time I got there. You know what I mean? I was 18, so I liked all the guys on the team, the coaching staff. So, and I know I got hurt in like the preseason when we went to Italy, but them telling me I was gonna have the chance to play right away, obviously, like all the freshmen coming in, I think we're gonna have a chance because they won 2 games prior to that. So, but they were definitely waiting on the arrival of De'Ami Starks and Joe Shea because I think they set out the year before, which proved to be 2 great additions to our team.
And there was, man, I will just say, you unlocked some core memories with the walking to suits or walking to classes in suits. Like, everybody that has a Bryant connection will be like, what goes on there?
Yeah, like his own world.
Yeah. Isn't that so, like, if you try to explain that to other people, they'll be like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, you guys do what? All this in suits? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, man. I hadn't seen that on, like I said, I hadn't seen that in any of my visits. And I was coming from like in high school, you might have to put on some dress clothes, some game day or something like that. But, at that age, you don't really want to just, be putting on dress clothes. But it was just like, okay. Cause I understood that like, I didn't become as tall as my uncle and things like that. It's hard to go to the NBA. And I knew that I was going to have to, turn to something after my basketball career. Everything they said about Bryant just sound like it would be the right place to help me, when I got out of school.
So you were at Bryant for arguably, I would say, before the NEC championship, probably the biggest moment that Bryant has had. They call it the Shot Heard Round Smithfield, which was the first. Yeah. It was the first playoff game that they had won since going D1.
Yes.
And there's viral videos everywhere. It comes around once a year around March, right? You guys are down 63-60. De'Ami Starks takes a 3, misses it. And then Joe O'Shea just hucks it up, and the crowd erupts. And, I mean, first of all, were you on the floor for that?
No, I wasn't in the game. I wasn't in the game.
So, like, what was going through your mind? Was there any point of, like, oh, my God, we're about to lose this game at home, like, because De'Ami just hucked it up? Or was there something in the back of your mind, like, all right, we're going to win this game? Like, somebody's going to step up and make a shot.
You know what? Because, I had a couple good moments during that game, and then I wasn't on the floor. But I think what I would guess what my thought process, I'm very, like, okay, we were down, big crowd. We want to win this game. I think we lost to them twice that year, losing to the same team 3 times will really hurt, And we had some good moments in that building. We also lost some tough ones in that building, like earlier in my career. But I do know with De'Ami Starks with the ball in his hands, I wouldn't like, what I'm saying? You got a good chance. You got a good chance with De'Ami shooting the ball. So, but when he came up short, I think what people sleep on in this whole situation is Dan Garvin, because Dan Garvin chases the ball down over to the sideline by the bench and gets us another opportunity. So if Dan doesn't, if Dan sees the missed shot and just gives up and says, hey, that's game, we don't win that. So, but he kicks it out to Joe. Joe hits the shot, and I remember just flying off of the bench. I think it might have been a couple tenths on the second, but a couple tenths of a second on the clock. But we were on the floor celebrating and stuff like that. It was just a big moment, and I think that's the momentum that helped us, pull out that victory. And I think that was like you said, that was the first, Division I postseason win in school history. So that was a cool moment to be a part of. So it was like, that's why it's cool to see them win the conference now, because it was, I remember, it's all building blocks and it's all process. And, I was a part of the process when, the gym wasn't the best looking and things like that, but we grinded it out. And I think we gave the fans and the students some really good games to watch. And I think that's what's most important.
And for you too, you mentioned the Italy trip. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, you got to play against UConn one year.
Yeah.
And then were you part of the Duke team that played? Yeah. So it's like, really cool. Playing against, storied franchises like that, like coming in, like, what were some of those moments that you remember, or, any other key moments in your Bryant tenure that, really were like special?
And that's what was cool about it. I mean, like you say, Bryant's a smaller school, but having the chance to play against 3-4 of those bigger schools, and every year is always a good opportunity. We gave a few of them a good run for their money. I think UConn, Diami Starks went on a crazy run. We didn't, I don't know exactly what the score was, but I don't remember that score being too crazy at the end of that ball game. We beat Boston College when I was a freshman. That was a crazy moment, for the coaching staff and the players and, the school. My first college game was against Indiana, and now, they had Cody Zeller and Oladipo and Christian Watford. That was, my uncle was there, and that was like an unreal moment just being in. I think it's Assembly. Is that Assembly Hall?
Yeah.
Assembly Hall. With that many people coming down on you, I played against, really good players in AAU in the past. I played, against really good players in high school, but I never played in front of that many people. I've been to a lot of NBA games in my life and as a kid and stuff like that, but that was the first time where, I'm standing on the court just looking around me. I remember when I got subbed in, that's, some moments you don't forget. I remember just standing there and just looking around and just feeling. I think it might be close to, I don't know, I think it might be 20,000 or something. I don't know, you have to check that, but it's a lot of people that they fit in that arena. And it was the opening night. They got 3 NBA players on the team. They ranked number 1 in the country. So those are just moments that, no matter what the final score is, because, those games, those games, like I said, you can keep them close or they might get out of hand. But, at the end of the day, I think it's the memory and the moment that you'll never forget. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few key things, and one of them was, you realized that basketball wasn't going to be, sort of forever for you, right? There had to be something to sort of, I guess, fall back on is the right word. So you take the plunge into the NBA. You start off as a game review analyst. You're on the league ops team. So first, did you ever have your eyes on this, or did someone sort of were there people along the way that encouraged you and said, hey, you might be a good fit here? Like, how did this whole journey with the NBA start for you?
Well, when you're a college athlete, especially like you on the Division I level, whether it's a smaller school, bigger school, whatever, that means you were obviously pretty good at basketball coming up, and a lot of things in that life, I think a lot of things are kind of tailored to you. You know what I mean? You're getting bags of merchandise for free, and you're getting to travel for free, and all. You get accustomed to. Things are pretty smooth on that side of things, you know what I'm saying? And I think that something to focus on, and I was just talking about this with some people at the draft, is that like, everybody's not going to play professional basketball. Everybody's not going to play NBA basketball. Some people do play professional basketball, but it's not as lucrative all the time. So, when I was coming out of school, my thing was I wanted to get to it earlier and not later. I wanted to get to my professional career earlier. I wasn't an all conference player in college. I played a role, and I think that's something that when you're a basketball player, you gotta be real with yourself. If you're an all conference player and things like that, I think go ahead, try to continue to, chase that or whatnot. But, I think guys should try to, start their professional career earlier and not later. And, I graduated. I went back home. I was coaching high school basketball at my high school, and I was also coaching AAU with my former program as well. And that was cool because that's why you keep strong relationships. People trust you and things like that. And I was talking to my uncle one day, and I was just expressing what I wanted to do, and did he know can he introduce me to anybody, and if not, that's okay, and things like that. But I was in Cleveland for like a year and a half. I worked an odd job or two, because with that transition, it gets tough. And, you put your resume in and not every job is going to come calling. So, I had like a year and a half transition time where I was, coaching and working jobs and things like that. Just looking for the next opportunity. And, I met some people that I work with now, and I was able to, work at the draft combine for a week. And I met some great people. I was like a contracted employee or whatnot for that week to help out the operations staff. and I met some cool people, and they were telling me about, certain positions that my background may fit and things like that. But at that time, there wasn't like any open position. So, it was one of those things where it was like, we like you, we have your resume and things like that. And, a position, comes available, which was the game review position, which is what they told me they think I would be a good fit for. It was probably, I think, 4 months later, I got a call, and, so, and then after that, I got a call from my manager at the time, and I went through that process, and that was the start to a 6-year now career with the NBA.
So you technically did make it to the NBA.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at it. That's the way my family looks at it. So
you said you were like, the NBA weren't really in my cards, but I mean on paper, you're there.
I got, like you said, I got there somehow, unfortunately, I stopped growing in high school and things like that. I wish I could have got to my uncle's height. He's a big guy, but, it's it's like hitting the lottery going to the NBA. My family got one, so, we'll
you hit the quota. Yeah.
What I'm saying? We'll take it.
Yeah, but you're also talking like you're short. Aren't you like 6'4"?
Yeah, I'm 6'4", but you got to remember.
I mean,
in the basketball space,
I'm a guy – Curtis, you're talking to a guy who's 5'8". Come on.
That's fair. That's
I
fair.
wo'd do bad stuff for your height.
Even days in high school, when I'm coming to my AAU, when we get to the hotel, I'm one of the shorter guys. You know what I'm saying? My teammates 6'10" and 6'9" and 6'8". I understand what you guys are saying. I respect it. But in my line of work, I'm not the biggest guy.
I'm 6 foot and I'm still waiting for my second growth spurt at 26. So we're working on it. So tell us about this first role before we get into your newer stuff. I mean, so you analyzed about 11,000 plays per season to ref the refs, quote unquote. So you're pretty much looking in to make sure the refs got the right call. What analysis did you need to really perform in those situations, and how did you get the ball right, making sure that the refs were doing the right thing?
Man, it's a really interesting position, and I'm glad that I got to do it. I'm still involved with the game review process. So basically, that it's a different way of looking at the game. No matter what basketball experience you come in with, I'm coming in with I consider myself a high basketball IQ guy. And I'm thinking the transition is going to be pretty easy, but it's like if you were go from college basketball to the NBA. It's different terminology, different technology, and different way of just looking at basketball and how it's officiated. The game review team looks at something like you said, 11,000 on average from every angle in the arena. Every millisecond of every NBA game that's played is reviewed in terms of officiating. So I think we have the best, officials in the world when it comes to basketball. It's a tough job, but that position, it really, like I said, it really teaches you. You get to see the game a different way. You get to see the physicality of the game a different way. You get to see the way these high level athletes are really performing. And just getting that first start as a game reviewer has been a blessing. So
this is an interesting time too, because just going over your profile on the last 2 minutes reports as well was something that went into it. And I mean, it was pretty new when you hopped into that. I mean, I remember in 2015 when they came out with it, everybody's like, they're really going to issue, an entire report for the last 2 minutes of every single game. And it was news because no other league had really been as ingrained with that as the NBA was about to do. So, I mean, regardless of how that went, right? What was it like contributing to those reports? And because that was a very high visibility role at the time.
That's a great way to frame that question, man. And unfortunately, we did something with one of the big networks, like a story. It's not going to end up coming out for whatever reasons, but it was highlighting the L twin process, and I had a good part in that story because a lot of people are interested in that part of it. The fans get really involved because we do we do a 48-minute report. The L twin, that L twin is the piece of a full game report. Obviously, it gets a lot of eyes because of controversial, like you said, no matter how it, it winds up shaking out, it gets a lot of publicity and a lot of eyes on it. But seeing those come out and seeing them go viral and things like that, and knowing that, hey, I published that, or sometimes that this side isn't going to be too happy about, what I'm saying, because there's always going to be an advantage and a disadvantaged party for at the end of a game. So, but just to be able to, like you say, look back at the start of my basketball journey and now being a part of something, like you said, that's so visible. Obviously, like, our names aren't on them, but, I know, what I'm saying, when I'm looking at my phone, I know that, hey, I was working on that this morning, our team was working on that. So it's cool to have that type of role at the NBA. And like you say, it just really for me, it's just a really interesting look on, like I said, my journey throughout the game, being at this level.
Was there a game that after the report came out that you were involved in, you kind of had to put your head down or be like, I don't know if we got that one right or type of thing, or like it was a controversial.
We got a team. That's a good question. We got a team of very, very, very intelligent people that have a great eye for the game, and it's just to somebody we're not going to be right. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? If you are a fan of the team that lost. Let's put it this way: if you're a fan of the team that won, and the report is in favor of the team that you root for, you're gonna love us. And if the next week your team lost and you on the losing end of a foul call that we may have agreed or disagreed with, you're not gonna love us that week. So there's been big moments. I'm pretty sure you guys have probably seen a couple different instances in the games that people think we may have got right or may have got wrong. But like I said, just being involved in the process is just the biggest highlight for me. But we all human. We all see the reactions and we all see that stuff. So, there's times where you're just like, hey, we look at this stuff but I think when we put a report out, I think that, when it comes out, it's gone through so many different layers. And we're not perfect. And like I said, everybody's not going to agree with, our decision, but it goes through so many different layers and so many, veteran eyes and, former officials and, things like that, like very legendary officials, that by the time it comes out, I think we're pretty confident with our answer.
So you start your entry into the NBA is with the game review teams. You're analyzing all this stuff, and then you also get a really cool opportunity to get involved in the BAL, which is Basketball Africa League, when it launched a couple of years ago. So, I mean, this is another high visibility thing you get to do because this has historic investment. There's a lot of eyes on it. They've been trying, as the NBA to get something started in Africa, and it finally came to fruition. So what was your role? You were team liaison, of course, but what were you doing? Because you had boots on the ground in Africa too. You were there as these games and these teams were playing. So what kind of stuff were you doing there?
So, and that's something that I've just been so grateful to have the opportunity to be a part of. Like I said, it's something new. I really didn't have my eyes set on, traveling over to Africa. But, since then, I've been so interested and intrigued by the whole continent and the way that the game is growing over there. So the first year, I just got a call from, a colleague of mine. And the first year was kind of just like the whole NBA family, so to say, coming together to support this league. You had the league office, New Jersey, New York. You had Latin America, India, all of these different places with a lot of hands, a lot of different people, a lot of different departments coming, to Africa and that year, that was the first year. So we kind of still COVID. So we were in a bubble for 30 plus days. And it was just like a lot of people coming together. And my role was I was helping out with just operations. I do a lot of operational stuff. So, and that included everything that year. So like we had, you had people, senior people helping out building ball racks. You know what I mean? So we were building ball racks and the laundry process and just everything. You know what I mean? If you were a part of, basketball operations or, the league operations, obviously like you got very senior people, but I mean, from like a lot of different levels, people were just, boots on the ground, all hands on deck, whatever we need, locker room, set up and things like that. And, on court operations, and the same people are helping with, the referee operations and things like that. So, that was just amazing to be a part of. We saw it through. We made it to the end, crowned a champion. I believe Zamalek out of Egypt won that year. And then after that, my role kind of changed to team operations and being a liaison, which is you kind of the BAL representative to be with that team's movement. So there's a few different liaisons that stick with the team, and you also just helping out with just basketball operations in general. So the team that I worked with for the past couple of years was the Cape Town Tigers. I've been a liaison with them. A new and a really cool young franchise in South Africa. One of their team presidents is he's out of Brooklyn, New York. And so they got the whole league is just so new, and just the opportunities and the things that they can do and the reach that they have all over Africa when it even comes to the youth and the people that are watching these games has just been amazing to see, you know what I mean? And, the home countries they travel to support, and, the BAL's best days are ahead of them, I believe. In the future, you'll see them probably expand to different markets. So it's just been really cool to help out. Zaire Wade was on the Cape Town team, so I think that was a really cool moment for the league as well, to have him and his family involved. So it's just been really cool to see it from the first year to where it is now.
And like the growth and eyes on it. I mean, I'm pretty sure President Obama was heavily involved with the BAL and still is. And I mean, it truly shows that. And I mean, we're starting to see this more, but the NBA is basketball is global. The NBA is becoming global. And it would be really awesome to see the NBA play a game in Africa.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and all of that stuff is coming soon. And the game is, obviously, if you pay attention to the NBA, you'll understand that we have a very big global presence. We got the global academies. You got the NBA academies in Latin America and Europe and Africa, and that's another thing that the BAL does a great job of, is involved in the NBA Academy in Africa that's in Senegal. They have a program called BAL Elevate that, they select one of the kids to be on each team, and that's their first professional experience. So, just to see where, them taking these talented kids and things like the Seed Academy and Giants of Africa, and they have all these different initiatives, around the continent. It's just crazy to see, man. It's just crazy because I love basketball, and like I said when I was speaking to my uncle earlier, I come from a family that likes to bring people together, and my family had an opportunity to do that surrounded a lot of things with basketball. You know what I mean? So my whole life has been like a basketball, bringing people of all walks of life together. So this is just another opportunity for that, and just on a huge level. You know what I mean? We trying to have a strong league that affords African players to be able to stay in their in their homes and find success there as well.
And then outside the game, because I would assume a large amount of your time was spent in the arenas with the teams, yep. All that, putting ball racks together, doing laundry, that kind of stuff. But I mean, were there any places in Egypt and Rwanda that you got to go see when you were out there? Like, did you get to go explore a little bit? Like, how was that experience for you personally? Just a kid from Ohio that gets to go see all this stuff. Life changing moments, man. And that's actually funny because a lot of my colleagues in Africa, we always laugh because I'll see something new and they'll ask me, "Oh, you never seen this? You never done this?" And I just look at them. I'm from Cleveland, man. What you mean? No, I haven't seen it. I've never seen this before. I think there was like a lizard. There was like a lizard on my hotel wall, and I didn't react the best to that. And they like, "Come on, man, that's a lizard." I'm like, "We don't got lizards on the wall in Ohio, man."
Yeah, or Smithfield, Rhode Island. That's full of the wilderness is crazy there.
It's just a change of pace, but man, in Egypt, I've been able to go to the pyramids a couple times, which is just unreal. It's just unreal, man. It's an unreal sight. It really makes you think. It's just something that that you never really think you're gonna have the opportunity to go see. But anytime I'm in Egypt, I'm gonna go see the pyramids at least one time. I went to the first civilization museum, which is crazy. They have like a whole section with mummies and things of that in their tombs and stuff like that. So that's just unreal stuff. And then in Rwanda, obviously, you had the genocide in '94. So we went to the genocide museum and out in the villages, and then I had a chance to we went to a national park and like a whole safari tent type of stay over thing. So with respect to the genocide, like that museum was just a crazy experience, just learning the history of that country. And but I have so much respect for that country because of where it is now is considered one of the safest, cleanest places in Africa. So the work that they're doing over there is great. And just being amongst that wildlife in the safari in Rwanda was crazy. You got lions and elephants and giraffes just roaming freely, and that's just their work. You're on their turf now, so I haven't really seen anything like that. It's not like the zoo or anything like that. It's just a couple of my colleagues went on like a gorilla trek in Rwanda where you're really like an arm's length away from the gorillas, like really in their habitats, things like that. I bowed out of that part of it. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that much. You know what I mean?
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. But the tents we stayed in were like above hippos, and that's when I really learned what hippos were capable of. I didn't really know too much about hippos until I was like 30 feet away from one, which wasn't the best. So yeah.
That's great. I mean, so the whole picture, I mean, you're in the NBA, you get to travel, to Africa and grow the game there. You're making key decisions in like the game analysis and the operations side. Would you say this is a dream job? And if so, what would be that dream job for you in the NBA even further?
Man, I think for somebody like myself, and with my specific involvement and my journey, I think that I'm living part of my dream. I think that being attached to the game at this level, I think it's really made all of the hard work in the past worth it. I mean, whether it was on the court or school wise and things like that. I think that being able to because when I was a kid, like I said, my family, we had a very tight family. We would travel to my uncle's NBA games. We would go to this type of game. I was LeBron's McDonald's game and things like that. So I've been a part of this world for a long time, but now being on this end of it, or like working All-Star Weekend in Cleveland, was kind of just like a full circle moment for me last year. Or just being in Cleveland, my hometown, and I remember being in Gund Arena in the '90s and the early 2000s, and now I'm working alongside my younger brother who also works in League Ops. So just having him next to me and being a part of that staff, which isn't, League Ops isn't the biggest department in the world. So knowing that, you're a part of this pretty, reasonably small group that, has all of these ins and outs of the NBA, it's just, that being able to do all that stuff, like you said, and being in, certain meetings and having certain decisions, like I said, just makes it all full circle. I have conversations with my uncle all the time, and he tells me how I've taught him so many things about the NBA now, which, I never really, you don't see that kind of statement coming when you're younger and you're looking up to somebody who has so much involvement in the NBA and is respected by so many people. And he's so smart when it comes to basketball. But when he said that, that was also another moment where I was like, this is pretty cool to, be involved in, your All-Star Weekend, you're in the, the locker rooms and stuff like that. So, it's become pretty routine, but sometimes you still got to take a step back and, just enjoy the moment and realize that, this is it's a pretty cool accomplishment.
So what is like that dream job for you with the NBA? Like, where do you see yourself landing, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I want to, honestly, I'm just interested in, what this journey brings, whether it's, still, at the league office or with the NBA team. I want to stay in basketball. But I can see myself being a general manager or something, something like that for an NBA team, and being involved in roster construction and scouting and things like that. So that's what I, and I have former colleagues that have went on the NBA teams and do, great things with, have similar positions that the stuff that I want to do. So at a few different NBA teams, from our department. So I think it's feasible. I think it's something that I can obtain. It's something that I do want to do. But with me, I'm not rushing anything. I'm trying to do the best at what I currently do, and I think that'll help me, go in the right direction.
And then outside the league, we got to talk about your foundation. So the Curtis Oakley Jr. Youth Foundation, you put on free clinics for kids. How important is that philanthropy aspect for you? And what are some of your goals that you want to accomplish with that?
So with that, I always like dealing with kids. I like giving back. I like being involved in stuff like that. When I was in Africa the first time, I met a guy that he has his own program, and he was really inspiring when it came to that. We had a lot of conversations, and I have another colleague that has his own camps as well. And and I have been figuring out. I was thinking like, what can I do in Cleveland? And obviously, I'm a basketball guy, and I thought the best thing to start with was basketball camps. I work with my cousins. I have a couple cousins that it's a very family oriented organization right now. It's small, but I have a lot of family members that are very professional, and they do great work. So they help me, and they have come up with a lot of ideas. So we want to be able to get into the schools sometime soon, and do some where it's mentoring or tutoring and things like that. But those things that come, it's a process. We started with basketball camps, and the whole goal for me was, I see a lot of people charging a lot of money for camps and things like that. I started this slightly outside of the pandemic, and I wanted to just bring some to them that was free. I didn't want to put any stress on the parents to be involved in a Curtis Oakley basketball camp. And I wanted the premise to just be us giving, us giving and them receiving. So I have some, amazing colleagues at the NBA that come into town, and they take on coaching roles. But I want the kids to know that, I know you guys watching TV and seeing the NBA players, but I want you to, see people that work behind the scenes. I didn't really, my uncle's in the NBA, and I never really heard of what was, people that worked for the NBA. I still wasn't, when I was a basketball player, people weren't telling us about the people that work for the NBA. So I think it's cool to have, men and women that are around the kids and showing them that, hey, we went through the same things you guys went to. And, we made it to the NBA, like you said, just a different way. And, I want to be able to be in front of them. And so last year we gave out school supplies. My best friend Farrell, he was playing for the Texans at the time, and he gave us a really good donation to get school supplies for the kids. So I've been able to get a lot of local support from really amazing people, just based off of my past in the city and things like that. I think I've been a good person, and I think I did some good stuff. So people trust me, and I appreciate that, because they've been really helping me with giving back to the kids. So we go from 9 to 1 on Saturday and Sunday. It's free from 4th through 8th grade boys and girls, and we just look forward to having a great weekend with the kids. They seem to have fun. We got NBA, merchandise that we give them, prizes for knockout and stuff. So I just like seeing the kids smile, and that's been the best part, really.
Yeah, to close out there, if you have advice for somebody that's in your shoes, right? There's a lot of guys that, are in college, they're maybe trying to take the next step, or maybe they're playing overseas and trying to figure out, all right, what do I do after this? Yep. What would that be? What would you tell somebody like that?
I think honestly, man, it's different case by case. Obviously, if you're somebody that really had a really strong career in college, obviously, and you want to continue to play basketball to feed yourself and your family, I'm all for it. But I think the biggest thing, no matter who you are, is being real with yourself, and not what people say. Obviously we all got trusted people in our circles and things like that, and they know you, and that's great. But I think that the biggest thing is for everybody to assess their own situation and assess who they are. And whether it would make sense to keep playing or not keep playing. And I support the people that keep playing and the people that don't. It's just like I said, it's so different case by case. But no matter what you decide on doing, I mean, I think you just got to put your 110% into it. If you're going to keep playing, keep investing in your body and everything, and find a good agent and things like that. And if you want to start your professional career, I mean, I think it's great to start networking as early as possible, because a lot what goes on in this world is relationships and being in the know. So whether you're gonna try to keep playing professionally, like guys at Bryant, you know what I mean. I think I just saw a post where somebody just signed a contract in Lithuania, and that's great. So, but don't be scared to, if you're not that caliber of guy, if you're a different kind of player, Bryant is a great school where it probably put you in a good position to join the workforce. So, no matter who you are, just be real with yourself and assess your situation, and try to make the best decision for yourself as possible.
Love that. Curtis, we appreciate the time. This was awesome. Where can our listeners stay engaged with you, follow along online, and just keep up with what you're working on?
Man, this is cool, man. I appreciate you guys. This is a cool show, man. You guys are doing great work, and I definitely appreciate the opportunity to talk with Bryant alumni, because I really enjoyed my time there. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, we appreciate it. If people want to get involved in your foundation as well, where can you steer them? Where can they go to learn more?
They can go to www.co2youthfoundation.org. We got all the information on there. You can go see pictures of past events. If you want to help us out, help the kids, there's a donate section. And there's just a lot of info on there. So if you're in the Cleveland area and you want to stay in tune, or if you're outside and just want to keep up with what we're doing and look at the pictures and things like that, or you can go to our Instagram page, same thing, CO2 Youth Foundation. And, we're just trying to, do some cool stuff for the kids in Cleveland in the future, maybe elsewhere.
We can't wait to see you on the hardwood one of these days. We'll have to do you gotta, once you get to that, the next level, we'll do like a Bryant sort of thing. You'll get all the Bryant alumni back, and we'll figure something out.
We gotta
Boston.
We gotta do a Bryant alumni game, man.
That would be cool.
I got a couple men's leagues game this week, so I'm still shooting. I'm still getting my threes up. I'm still getting my attempts up. A couple times a week, talking a little trash. So I try to get the field back a couple times a week. So.
You got to do what the guys at Providence are doing, where the guy's going to the portal and he's like, all right, Kim English. He's like, all right, if I beat you 1-on-1, you come back. It's like, all right, Bryant guy wants to go into the portal. You got to 1v1 Curtis Oakley first, and if you beat him, you get to go.
The portal's a different world these days. I see it's like the whole NCAA.
Crazy.
Just about
portal,
everybody.
NIL, everything in college hoops.
You have another hour? We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Curtis,
Awesome,
thanks a
Curtis.
bunch, man. This is a blast. Great to see everything you're doing, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, I appreciate it. Let's definitely stay in touch, guys.